Welcome everybody, and it is time to play Wheel of Auraq! Yes, thank you very much. Very excited. Okay, Bumbleboot, you've had a rough go so far. 2 spins this game, and both martingales. Both hits were martingales. That's the way that Wheel of Auraq sometimes spins, you know?
Daddy needs a new
But
expedition.
we're near the end of the game, and you have 1 spin left. Odds are looking good, Bumbleboot. Lot of good hits left.
It's gonna be a Hydra.
And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
Martingale. Always Martingale.
Welcome.
Good game. Thank you for playing.
I hate this game.
What's up, Ella Bros? It is Elio, back again with another video for the Alto Trading Card game. This time I'm playing Auraq, and longtime fans of the channel will see some similarities between this and another deck I played in Season 1, Hyper Hydra. And yeah, I've definitely spiced that up with some new tools, and I am excited to show it off. Auraq, of course, is a hero that benefits from you playing characters that have 0 stats in one of their 3 colors, and when you do that enough, you get to play cards for free. This deck tries to benefit from that with very big cards that will blow your opponent out. Now, with the new set, we have 2 separate Hydras. The Lernian Hydra is a real beast from hand and usually good enough to win a lane by its own. And it's still great while being hit with Auraq, just like the original Hydra. It's nice as you scale up with mana, staying the same cost but getting bigger just the same. It's also a great hit with Mind Apo. It doesn't stick around forever like Hydra does, but it can still seal a lane, which is often exactly what we need. Additionally from the new set, we also got a great new hit in the Minotaur. The Minotaur can anchor itself, sticking around for another round when hit with Mind Apo, and can also in a pinch anchor your own Lernian Hydra, which can be a real beating for the opponent. I love how the pink version benefits from 0 stats cards in reserve. All 4 of these, though, are just amazing hits off of Auraq, while also being reasonable cast from your hand. To trigger Auraq's ability reliably, though, we need cheap things that put on counters. Martingale is a staple and can accelerate the big things. Basist is something that can win a lane on turn 1, and it gets big enough to steal a lane all by itself for just 2 mana when played from reserve. Our final 1-drop from hand is Starfish, which is basically a cheaper Haven Sarengar from hand that helps us replenish. And speaking of the Sarengar, the dude himself is here, a great lane thief and a refueler. OT comes in as an additional unit that you can play twice for 3 mana like many of our 1-drops from hand. Following is a trio of 2/2 Mountain Water units. Each of these provides different utility values, but the Snowman in particular I love as just a big dude for the cost. Finishing up the characters, Sandman is a great late game character and can steal games, lanes, and matches. A one-off Hathor can be clutch, not as strong as it is in Fen, but still great from hand, and lets us rebuy something from reserve. This comes into play less, though, with many of our reserve units wanting to stay in reserve for a few turns, like Starfish and Basist. Finally, for our non-uniques, we have 3 one-off non-characters. All these are often not great Auraq hits, but they provide incredible utility that I think might make them worth including. In Auraq, though, you do want to be conservative with things that are not characters. Not only do they not trigger Auraq, but they're also often not great hits off of Auraq's ability. For our uniques, we have 2 MJs to ramp us up, and an OT that can provide you enough gas for the entire game for very cheap. That's the deck. Let's jump into some games. Okay, up against Akesha. I'm not keeping this X marks the spot. I don't really like to use Sandman early on. Like, I like to use it to close out, and there's enough, bad draws in this deck that you don't want early on that you're not trying to keep things to keep for later game, so I'll put the Sandman back. It's okay against, Tasia and stuff sometimes, where I can sleep an anchored unit that's going to be around anyway, but I'm not trying to force lanes that way otherwise. Definitely want to keep a Starfish. Let me draw cards, so that's Snowman, Starfish, and in order to just really let me push lanes early on, I'd rather have the 2-drop and the Snowman and lots of power. So I'll double Snowy with the Scribbly and go from there. And then I'll just split the lanes here, starting with Starfish, letting my bigger play come later. They play a rare Ysmir Engraver. Put put back the Minotaur there. Again, not trying to keep late game things in this deck early on to hold on forever. Rather have things that I can play out to pressure the lanes and fill up the counters on Auraq. And I don't really want to keep those or consider those until they're actually in the realm of castable. So in case they just do a engraver to this lane, like I don't want to go snowman right. I want to leave open the option to play starfish this turn. And I wouldn't want to do like snowman right, they do engraver left, and then I starfish into a place where I'm not advancing because this is just bigger. And so even though this matches up perfectly in the right lane, I'm actually going to play the snowman to the left lane. And then if they don't play the engraver, I'll probably play the snowman to the right. But depends what they do, whether or not I want to follow up with starfish or whether I want to follow up with another snowman. Now they play Flamel there, and knowing that they're gonna have all this grass power now, I'd rather leave this as a big grass play since I'm gonna have trouble advancing here in the future, and I may need this grass. So I'll do snowman first, though I could just basist. The snowman is a better use of my mana, so I'll do the snowman. I don't know how long this game's going to go, but it could definitely go long. So I'd rather have lots of things that are going to, either force them to sabotage or let me refuel. So I'll put the basis back. Snowman should fight well enough over water as is, but it is, I am giving up some of my water toys here. In case they do have a sabotage effect, I'll just open up with the starfish, and I can actually potentially sneakily Sarengar OT on the right side here, depending on what they do, to beat Flamel. And Snowman can make it so that I'm pressuring a lot on the left side with water, plus Starfish plus Snowman will be enough water to beat the Flamel here on the left. And so as a result, I will do the Starfish to the left, which I think gives me the most flexibility. I definitely want to play 3 things this turn. Ideally, one of them is Snowman, though, so that I'm not overflowing the reserve. I could just do 2 things this turn with Sandman, but then I haven't played a character out. Now, given that I do want to not overflow my reserve, I can play Snowman to the left, and that will make it so that even if they cast a free spell with Flamel, which they are doing, and can kill my OT, they can't, this is enough to take this lane anyway, and so killing the OT isn't giving them an additional lane push plus getting rid of the OT forever. They are getting rid of the OT forever, but that's not extra value that they're getting from that. So we do trade lanes 1 for 1, but I got the resupply from that, and I should be, despite their magical trainings and Flamel, actually way up on resources because of this free Auraq that I'm about to play. Here, obviously getting rid of a big thing. The right thing to do is probably actually to get rid of Hydrocana. I get rid of Minotaur, though, but if I keep that Minotaur, it's very possible that I either hit that I hit a Lernian Hydra here, for example, and then I can Minotaur and anchor the Hydra, which would be very nice. Haven Sarengar. They play a unique Mage Dancer. Since they're going to be potentially at 4 water here with that magical training, I'm going to try to play the Sarengar here and have enough grass to advance. I could Snowman, but that just keeps this around to definitely advance the next turn with its power. I'd rather make them recast it and try to double advance my own, and then keep this for a game-winning push. Luckily, no spell from them. A spell from them would have let them block us. It would have also overflowed them, though. Them not having a 1-drop spell was definitely in our fortune. Easy Hydra here. And a Lernian Hydra. We can kind of go to either side. It may have been better to go left because Snowball Commando is bigger on Mountain, and that lets us, Hydra left and then Commando to get a little bit more power here, which is just a little bit better of a push. But we'll start with a Sarengar and ideally what we can do is we can just slow roll this commando into a Sandman to steal this lane on the left. And this being on the right side makes it so that even if they do like Banishing Gate or Merlin or Lernian Hydra, that they aren't stopping us from advancing on this lane. And now we'll just play the Sandman to sleep it. They need a good amount of things. Like they do have a potential free thing from the Spires if they have another spell, but I don't think they can block this stuff, which they cannot. And yeah, that's GG. Okay, up against Basira. Hydra goes back. We don't keep things for the long game in our opener. Definitely keeping the OT, generally like that. Love to keep a Sarengar. And so then it's kind of for me either Snowman or Mighty Djinn. And this is a pretty good unique, so I'll keep the MJ. And let's see where that takes us. Okay, they play a Floral Tent. I've seen this before. Play our Sarengar to the left. That way, if they're going to play something that is, like if they're going to win a lane here, I'd rather them push for the right lane so that they're overflowing by the Floral Tent going back. And there's not a 1-drop that's going to be able to have enough power against the Sarengar. So at the very least, we advance here and we'll advance with our Trickster on the right. And if we're lucky, we get a 4+ so we can draw a card. And if we're not lucky, then we say, hey, we drew 2 of our uniques. We've gotten enough luck for this game. And we're okay with that. We'll get rid of the Basist. I'm happy to draw more cards with the Trickster and the Sarengar. But there's an argument for getting rid of the Trickster, actually, and saying, hey, we'll do Sarengar to draw. That'll be enough fuel with the Djinn and everything, and then we have a bigger thing in the Basist. I'm addicted to drawing cards, though, so... get rid of the Hydra. It's too big for what we're trying to do right now. And we'll open up with a Sarengar on the right, similar to what we were talking about last time. And we get bounced. Here, out of all these 2-drops, I think the Trickster is what I want to get rid of the most. We could always double Sandman with the Hather Sandman at some point. Ideally this turn we're doing... I probably don't want a Sandman yet. So we'll open up with the Sarengar on the right. See what they do, see if they want to go to where they're risking an overflow. And yeah, they do the Aeoli combo. We should still have enough to advance here, though, if we play a Hather. We could play Sandman. That doesn't really let us, like, that also just lets us do 1 advance. It stops them from advancing, but they're going to have that big body next turn. I'd rather have them overflow with all this junk, and we still advance, so we'll now be even on the lanes here. But we're way up on cards, especially with this Auraq trigger that's about to go off. Now we're getting towards the point when we can do some interesting things with the big guys. I get rid of the Martingale here, but I think there's actually an argument for getting rid of this Mighty Djinn because it might just be a little bit slow. But I can also just like Sarengar, MJ, and next turn I can sleep with the MJ, then I have the Sandman sleep, and I have this Hydra back up to win lanes. So I'm fine putting back the Martingale and giving myself all 3 of these big hammer plays as options rather than just a cheap stall play. I'm not going to try to double advance yet with like a sleep. I'm just going to push hard on the right with the Mighty Djinn and say, I want this lane. In the next turn with the sleep, I have a great shot at being able to... Actually, yeah, with this sleep. So I can mana, so now I can have 5, 6, 7, 8 8 mana available to do both Hydra plus Sandman, and we don't overflow here. Really good place to be in, going second on the potentially last turn. I'll get rid of the Martingale again. We're trying to do, or we're able to do big things now. Play the Hydra into the competing lane so that, like, I'm winning this one. He plays out this, then he only has 1 mana left, which isn't going to be enough to be able to counter anything that we're trying to do here. So yeah, we put him to sleep with the Sand Boy, and should be enough. GG. Okay, up against the Anchoring Arjun. I can't keep these late game things. I don't like to keep the late game things, so definitely getting rid of Mind Apo and Hydra. Love to keep a Starfish, especially against something that doesn't have a lot of sabotage, so it's going to get the value. Definitely going to be Starfish, Basist, and I'd rather have direct power and add stats to Auraq and all of that with my unique MJ. So the winter outfits will go back, making that choice fairly easy. So I'll get the fish in reserve, and I may want to draw with this next turn. So if I do that, then I'm using all my turn to MJ, which means if I have 2 things in reserve, I'm going to overflow. So I could play the Basist out just to get another counter on Auraq and start building this up, but that means that I'm forced to mana with the MJ, and it limits me a little bit. It does mean that I have 1 less counter on Auraq, but we can't take a lane, and so the only purpose of playing that would be to get a counter on Auraq, which is not what I'm going to try to do in this game. Because I'm ramping here, and there's not a ton of removal in Arjun, especially people seem to be running like Requiem now for their removal in Tasia. I am actually going to keep this Hydra for the purpose of hard casting. I can still draw with this because like we'd only get to 6 mana next turn, so I can like draw this turn and then make mana next turn. I'll send back a Trickster and have more mana efficient plays in hand. They Muna Bastion, so they anchored that, but I can't like sleep it immediately with my unique MJ. If they had just anchored, I would have definitely just done that. But for now, I'll first play out the Basist, and potentially, I mean, almost surely contest this blue. And they only have 1 mana left, unless they have like a Burrowing Noosh or a Spindle Harvesters. I should be able to block them on the grass here with the Mighty Djinn. And then next turn, I can finally get to 5 counters. Kind of a slow game for us building up there because of the route that we took. But hopefully we're playing in a Arjun match where our Hydra will be able to take over a lane. I'll get rid of one of the basics here. Now I could play this in either lane. I am going to try to block them though and make them commit here. It also makes it so that if they continue to anchor this, it's not going to be taking the lane anymore. Yeah, so they do anchor it, but now it's on our 8 power lane, which should hopefully start taking over. So they double advance here, but our future is looking bright because of the Hydrocana that we have. Now all we need to do is figure out how to fight over this left lane, which with things like the Basist should have tons of power, and we get free stuff from Auraq. Snowman's fine. It does give us water there. They have their own Hydra. Luckily, we can just play the Starfish on the right and draw and still be blocking and advancing, so that's good. Now, I don't play more things out here, but I definitely should. Like, I have so many resources right now, I should just get counters on Auraq. I should play Esmeralda, I should see what I resupply, and I should probably play whatever I resupply. And by not doing that, I'm leaving so many counters off of Auraq. And like I'm not going to be able to play all these things anyway. It's really like a waste of mana. And sure, like now I'm not overflowing, but the value that I get from not doing that is not high enough. In a position like that, it definitely would have been better just to play the Esmeralda out. Now here, I'll play out this Basist before it gets, like, little moused. They play an Inari. We can fight over this with Hathors. That is a anchored Inari. They're only scouting with the Minotaur. So we can just play Berengar. Well, no, because we'll be returning something with Hathors, so I'll play the Snowman to push us further ahead on Mountain, and then if they try to commit something else, we can have the Serengar to maybe surprise them with the fact that we have more green available. Ooh, Sap Dispersal, double the number of boosts on everything. So now he's winning the right lane. We'll each go 1-1 here. If I had played the Snowman to the right, I could have advanced on water by doing Esmeralda Basist. That was probably the play, because this Mountain, you know, it put us ahead. Like, we were ahead by 4, now we're ahead by 7. That's a little overkill. So yeah, that was probably another mistake, that we weren't considering all the many different counterplays that could be available to this Hydra. So now we can go and play a Sengir out left. At least get it to where we can start drawing with it. Once again there, probably should have used a character like Basist to get more counters on, so that we at least can have the resource advantage there. But for the longer game here, we still have the Snowman available, and so like what we can try to do is go 1-1, one more turn, and then have the Sandman, sorry, not the Snowman, to shut off the Hydrocana in like a final round to try to steal 2 lanes. Really not what you expect out of Arjun, like Hydrocanas and Minotaurs. We do get a Cloth Cocoon. We could pay 2 and get rid of the Inari, but we may need to remove multiple things this turn, or this game, in which case I'd rather just get rid of the Spindle, and then we can have an easier time Sandmanning in the future. Another Spindle. Okay, so I guess like let's start off by Serengaring on the left, getting a little bit of power there, blocking them. Well, almost blocking them, not even yet. Sap Duende. Okay. So now our Hydrocana is basically dead. So we basically need to sleep something this turn. And we need to steal something in the next turn. We play out the Esmeralda looking for a removal spell, but this Sandman actually costs 5. Right now it costs 6 on the Hydrocana, but if they play another plant, it's even more. They beauty sleep. We can't just like Sandman out and sleep the Hydrocana, because if we do that, then they just play Bumblebeat and they win the lane anyway, and then we lose the game. Like, what we actually need to do is stall out so they can't play a surprise Bumblebeat, and then we can sleep the Inari for them, which sucks, but like that's the only way to get to the next round. Especially with this beauty sleep available to them. We just have to stall and like get our Sandman play available to us. Things look very dire, but we're not out of it yet. We're both going to go to a place where we're 1 away. And here I can return the Sandman. Or the Snowman. I get these guys' names messed up all the time. One guy's made out of snow and he's an elemental. The other guy's made out of sand, he's an artist. You telling me this Snowman isn't an artist? Whoever made him's an artist, I'll tell you that. Put back a Serengar. I want to keep manning. We did draw one of our Sandmans. Good lord. Which is one of the things that we need to stay in this game. So a 5-mana Sandman does something about that, and then we have a X marks the spot in the deck that we want to try to draw with the Ouroboros Trickster. And a Hydra is a fine draw there, especially with us being able to like hopefully get rid of this Inari somehow. Now, should we have just gone right there and pushed hard on the right lane, sleeping the Hydrocana? That way they don't get the Inari next turn, because now we're kind of a little bit bought into having to sleep the Inari. Yeah, I think if you go right with the Hydrocana here, like you're basically saying, we're not going to win this turn, Like we'd have to high roll with the Ouroboros Trickster and then like basically low roll with a bunch of stuff. But we do say like, hey, we'll go to the arena. We'll go with, 9 to 26. We're down by a bunch. Like we absolutely need to draw the X marks the spot, but a single X marks the spot would be enough. We can still do we're gonna have to Sandman here on the Hydra either way, but we're like relying on them not being able to beat that on the right even more. So we kind of have to like go left here with stuff, try to bait them into thinking that we're going to fight over this lane by doing something to the Inari, maybe Cloth Cocooning again. That's a card that they've seen in the deck. But now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We may only have one more play before this, so we want to start going right to make sure we have enough power there. So we'll put the Basist on the right. And then we could, in theory, use Martingale here and then Sandman, but if they play a plant, we just lose. So we have to use the Sandman now before it gets an additional tough from a plant being played. And we can play the Martingale just to get the 5th counter. 12 cards in deck. We're not out of it technically yet. I know that seems crazy, but I think that we do have... We can make really big things with Hydras. We can kill things with... there's the X marks the spot that we need. We get rid of a Sandman. There's one Hydra. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mana. Leaves us with 1 mana left. By a Lernian Hydra. That's one thing that we need. Currently beating the Inari once we X marks the spot is Hydra. Ugh. But a Theseus will get rid of one of our things. So now with the Hydra gone, I don't think that just playing X marks on this, or really playing like this Hydra out, isn't enough. I think that we're dead here. All we can really... I mean, we definitely X marks the spot before he plays a plant. If he doesn't play this Theseus, then we can maybe have enough by playing the Hydra out. That's all his mana, he plays the Theseus. But even with him getting rid of the Hydrocana, this would give us another 12 power, 24, 24. We'd be short. So I don't think there's anything left that gets us out, but we were Ouroboros Trickster just to see if there's something that we're not thinking of that would let us handle this Inari. And there's not. That's GG. Really just got hammered with the Sap Duende, the doubling boost. But still we're closer than you'd expect, all things considered. GG. Those are the games. Hope you enjoyed it. I think in retrospect, looking back at the list, some of the things that I'm not super excited about, the winter outfits is often awkward and maybe not worth the lack of a hit on Auraq. I also feel like X marks the spot is sometimes awkward. At least Cloth Cocoon can often hit a permanent or a landmark when it comes into play off Auraq, but X marks the spot really needs your opponent to have something like a anchored unit out. That being said, it does feel pretty good against Hydrocana, so do what you will. Shout out my friend Freeloader, who played a very similar list to this to a 4-1 finish in one of the recent online tournaments. You can find his list on 39cards.com. And yeah, thank you for watching. Until next time, I remain Elio. Thank you.